I've sat at the Grammys so many years now hoping I'd win an award, and Lou Rawls has won them all.
He sat in that audience at the Grammy ceremony, watched them hand the trophy to someone else for the fourth time in a row, and he never forgot it. That one night lit a fire so hot it became the most commercially successful album in human history.
Oh, Superfly, you're gonna make it.
The Grammys have been stealing credit, burying legacies, and looking the other way at Black genius since the very beginning. And tonight, we are going to call them out, one legendary song at a time. Number 13, Midnight Train to Georgia, Gladys Knight and the Pips, 1973.
He said he's going back to find.
She left Motown because she was tired of being buried under bigger names. And the moment she walked out, she made the most iconic soul record of the decade. Midnight Train to Georgia hit number 1 on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the R&B chart in 1973, selling over 1 million copies and becoming one of the most emotionally devastating songs ever pressed to vinyl. The Grammy voters gave her Best R&B Vocal Performance for a duo or group, a fair nod, but the bigger snub is what they didn't do. They never put this song in the conversation for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, or any of the general field categories where it absolutely belonged. The Academy heard Gladys Knight as a soul artist and kept her confined there, while artists with far less fire walked away with the big trophies. Here is the heartbreaking truth about this song. It was written by Jim Weatherly as a country song called Midnight Plane to Houston, inspired by a phone call from actress Farrah Fawcett to Lee Majors. Gladys rewrote the entire emotional DNA of that record, changed the city, changed the destination, changed the feeling. And turned a country song into one of the most transcendent soul performances in recorded history. The Pips' call and response vocals, the way they echo her anguish, remains a masterclass in group harmony. And she did all of it while running from Motown, running from being overlooked, running for the freedom to be heard on her own terms. Midnight Train was her declaration of independence. The Grammys gave her a category award and moved on, as if a performance that moved the entire world was just another R&B entry to file away. Number 12, Freddie's Dead, theme from Superfly, Curtis Mayfield, 1972. 4 Grammy nominations, 4 losses, and a fog machine stole the moment he finally performed at the ceremony. Curtis Mayfield's Superfly soundtrack was nominated in 1973 for 4 Grammys, including Best Original Score, and lost every single one, including that category to Nino Rota for The Godfather. The Superfly soundtrack was a cultural earthquake. It knocked The Godfather off the number 1 spot on Variety's top grossing films chart. The album hit number 1 on the Billboard charts and stayed there for 4 weeks. Freddie's Dead went to number 4 on the Hot 100 and number 2 on the R&B chart. Curtis Mayfield wrote an entire anti-drug narrative into a film that was glamorizing drug culture. He used the villain's own movie to preach against him. When Mayfield performed Freddie's Dead at the 1973 Grammy ceremony, a fog machine malfunctioned and billowed smoke across the entire stage for the whole performance. The audience never even saw him. And then he lost everything he was nominated for. His girlfriend told him it was a white conspiracy. He canceled his white college tour in a rage, got sued, and lost a significant amount of money. The injustice of that night is staggering when you understand the stakes. The Grammy voters had Freddie's Dead, a 7-minute masterwork of socially conscious funk soul, on their ballots, and chose to reward a classical Italian film composer instead. Curtis Mayfield never won a competitive Grammy in his entire lifetime. He received only a posthumous Lifetime Achievement Award in 1995, the same year he died from complications of diabetes, having been paralyzed since 1990 when a lighting rig collapsed on him at an outdoor concert in Brooklyn. Number 11, Family Affair, Sly and the Family Stone, 1971. Number 1 on the Hot 100 for 3 weeks. Number 1 on the R&B chart for 5 weeks. A song so far ahead of its time that it used a drum machine. The first number 1 single ever built on one, and redefined what a soul record could sound like. And the Grammys? They gave it absolutely nothing, not even a nomination. Family Affair was the sound of Sly Stone's world collapsing, and that collapse sounded like the future. The album it came from, There's a Riot Going On, was recorded mostly alone by Sly in a decaying Bel Air mansion he rented from Mama's and Paspa's leader John Phillips. The same house where the darkness of the late 1960s had curdled into paranoia, drug dependency, and disillusionment. Bobby Womack played guitar. Billy Preston played keys. Only his sister Rose remained from the original Family Stone lineup. The Grammy voters in 1972 were not ready for what Sly had made. A deeply introverted, murky, violent funk masterpiece that Rolling Stone would later call one of the most important albums ever recorded. They preferred their R&B clean, hopeful, and easy to categorize. Family Affair was none of those things. It was a warning siren dressed up as a groove. Decades later, historians would identify this record as the direct ancestor of hip-hop, Quiet Storm, and neo-soul. Every time you hear a drum machine anchoring a soul record, every time a vocalist sounds detached and burned out in a way that feels deeply honest, that is Sly Stone's DNA at work. The Grammys never acknowledged it. They just moved on to the next ceremony. Number 10, What's Going On? Marvin Gaye, 1971. Mother, Berry Gordy told him it was the worst thing he'd ever heard. Motown refused to release it. Marvin Gaye threatened to never record for the label again. So they released it. It hit number 2 on the Hot 100, topped the R&B chart, and became what Rolling Stone would eventually call the most important and passionate record to come out of soul music. The Grammy voters gave it 1 nomination and lost that too. What's Going On received a single Grammy nomination, Best R&B Vocal Performance Male for Inner City Blues. Marvin Gaye lost to Lou Rawls for A Natural Man. Let that sit for a moment. The song that would be inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame in 1998. The song that Rolling Stone would rank as the number 4 greatest song of all time. The song that inspired H.E.R. to write her Grammy-winning I Can't Breathe lost to Lou Rawls at the 1972 Grammys. Not even nominated for Record of the Year. Not even considered in the general field. This record was born out of Marvin's grief. His duet partner, Tammy Terrell, had died of brain cancer in March 1970. Martin Luther King had been assassinated. Black Panther Fred Hampton was shot dead by Chicago police while sleeping. Marvin's brother Frankie had returned from Vietnam destroyed. What's Going On was not just a record. It was a survivor's testimony, pressed onto vinyl and delivered to a world that needed it desperately. The Grammy voters were not equal to the moment. in 12 nominations across Marvin Gaye's entire Motown tenure, one of the most decorated careers in American popular music, he won nothing. Not for I Heard It Through the Grapevine, not for Let's Get It On, not for What's Going On. The Academy would not acknowledge his genius until Sexual Healing in 1983. And even that felt less like recognition and more like correction. Grammy healing, a music historian once called it. Number 9, Lean on Me, Bill Withers, 1972.
Sometimes in now.
He was 33 years old, still assembling toilet seats at a factory in Los Angeles, when he wrote Ain't No Sunshine. Then he wrote Lean on Me. Then he wrote Use Me. 3 songs that would each become eternal, all in 2 years, all while the industry told him he didn't look like a pop star and couldn't possibly have a long career. Lean on Me hit number 1 on the Hot 100 and became one of the most covered, most performed, most culturally embedded songs in American history. The Grammy voters in 1973 didn't nominate it for a single award. Bill Withers was a West Virginia Navy veteran who stuttered as a child, taught himself to sing, and relocated to Los Angeles at 29 with a day job and a dream. His debut album was produced by Booker T. Jones and featured Stephen Stills. His second album, Still Bill, the one containing Lean on Me and Use Me, was described by Rolling Stone as a Stone Soul masterpiece. It didn't matter. The Grammys ignored both singles completely in the general field that year. The particular cruelty of this snub is historical context. Lean on Me has been performed at 3 presidential inaugurations. It was sung by healthcare workers and choirs worldwide during the COVID pandemic. BMI named it one of the most performed songs of the entire 20th century.
Lean on me.
Kanye West, Tupac Shakur, and Will Smith all built hits around Bill Withers samples. He eventually won a Grammy as a songwriter in 1987, when Club Nouveau covered Lean on Me, meaning the Recording Academy gave him his credit for someone else's performance of his own song. The 2007 Grammy Hall of Fame induction and his 2015 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction feel like apologies, but Bill Withers walked away from the music industry in the early 1980s and never looked back. He didn't need their validation. The world gave him more than they ever could. Number 8, Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. James Brown, 1968.
Say it loud.
Released 4 months after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., written in a single day at a studio in Los Angeles, with a group of local kids on the call and response vocals. Say It Loud went to number 1 on the R&B chart, hit the top 10 on the Hot 100, and became the most politically charged and culturally galvanizing song James Brown ever recorded. The Grammys treated it as if it didn't exist. James Brown wrote this song because he was watching Black Americans fight each other, and he wanted to redirect that energy toward pride, education, and self-determination. I wanted young Black kids to wake up and realize that they should be proud of who they were, he said in a Guitar World interview. Get an education, try to make something of themselves. He was not trying to separate, he was trying to build. The Grammy voters heard it as radical and stayed away.
Out of sight. All night.
The tragic irony in this story is that Say It Loud cost James Brown his crossover audience. White radio stations pulled back. Contra promoters got nervous. His commercial fortunes shifted. He traded mass white approval for cultural truth, and the Recording Academy never gave him a single nomination for it. Not for the single, not for the album. Nothing. Over the course of his entire lifetime, James Brown, the godfather of soul, the man who invented funk, the artist sampled more than any other in hip-hop history, received just 2 competitive Grammy wins. The Grammys finally gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award in 1992, long after the debt had compounded into something no trophy could settle. Number 7, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Diana Ross, 1970.
No way, no way, no way, no way.
She was the most famous woman in pop music. She had just left the Supremes, the best-selling female group in American history. Her solo debut was produced with gospel strings, a spoken word passage that Berry Gordy hated, and a vocal performance that felt like a declaration of war against every limitation ever placed on a black woman in the entertainment industry. It hit number 1 on both the Hot 100 and the R&B chart. The Grammy voters nominated it and gave the award to Dionne Warwick. Diana Ross received a nomination for Best Contemporary Vocal Performance Female in 1971. But the category itself was the insult. The Recording Academy classified her number 1 soul masterpiece as contemporary, tucked it into a mid-tier genre bucket, and handed the trophy to Dionne Warwick's I'll Never Fall in Love Again.
Wherever it leads, but remember, if you...
Meanwhile, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, a song written by Ashford and Simpson, backed by the Detroit Symphony Orchestra, and delivered with the kind of emotional authority that changes the air in a room, was never in the conversation for Record of the Year. The backstory of this record makes the snub even more unforgivable. Ashford and Simpson had written it years earlier and refused to give it to Dusty Springfield because they were holding it for a chance to get into Motown. Berry Gordy hated the spoken word opening and almost blocked the single release entirely. It was radio DJs who forced it out, cutting their own edits and airing them until public demand made Gordy relent. The people demanded it. The Grammys still looked the other way. Diana Ross would go on to receive 13 Grammy nominations across her solo career, never winning a single competitive Grammy. 13 nominations, 0 wins. That is not an oversight. That is a pattern. Number 6, Got to Give It Up, Marvin Gaye, 1977. Motown told Marvin Gaye to make a disco record. He said disco had no substance and refused. They kept pushing. His label mate Diana Ross had just released Love Hangover and scored a massive crossover hit riding the disco wave. So Marvin sat down in his home studio. He called it Marvin's Room. And in a single session in December 1976, he improvised and recorded an 11-minute dance track unlike anything that existed. He was trying to prove a point. He proved several. Got to Give It Up hit number 1 on the Hot 100, the R&B chart, and the disco chart simultaneously. The Grammys ignored it completely. This song has one of the most complex legal afterlives in music history. In 2013, Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams released Blurred Lines, which the Gaye family immediately identified as an infringement of Got to Give It Up. A federal jury agreed and awarded over $7 million to Marvin's estate. The feel and the groove of Got to Give It Up, that particular infectious energy Marvin created out of spite for a genre he didn't respect, was so original and so identifiable that courts of law recognized its uniqueness decades later. The Grammys did not. It's worth understanding what Marvin was dealing with in 1977. He was in the middle of a catastrophic divorce with Berry Gordy's sister, which would later produce the double album, Hear My Dear, his musical diary of a marriage dispute. He owed enormous tax debts. His personal life was in free fall. And out of that wreckage, he created one of the most joyful, explosive, irresistible dance records of the entire decade. The Recording Academy filed it away under nothing. You are halfway through the most outrageous list in soul music history, and these stories are only getting more infuriating. If you are new to R&B Pulse Track, this is what we do. We dig up the truth the industry tried to bury, and we give these legends their flowers right here, right now. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another story. Now let's get back into it, because things are about to get even more personal. Number 5, Off the Wall, Michael Jackson, 1979. He was 20 years old.
When the world is on your shoulder.
He made an album that spawned 4 Billboard Hot 100 top 10 singles, a feat no solo artist had ever accomplished before. He sold millions of copies worldwide, received universal critical acclaim, and the Recording Academy gave him 1 Grammy nomination in a genre category and 0 nominations for Album of the Year. Michael Jackson said later that the Grammy nominations hurt him deeply. Quote, "That experience lit a fire in my soul. All I could think of was the next album and what I would do with it. I wanted it to be truly great." What he made next was Thriller. The specific cruelty of this snub is that it was racial in its architecture. Michael Jackson won Best Male R&B Vocal Performance for Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, which is to say, the Academy recognized him as a black performer in a black genre and kept him there. Off the Wall was not nominated for Album of the Year. Rock With You was not nominated for Record of the Year. Jackson had never previously received a nomination in any of the Big Four general field categories. He was 20 years old and had already made one of the greatest albums in the history of popular music, and the Grammys confined him to an R&B box. Jackson's fury was total, and it was focused. He went back into the studio with Quincy Jones, Rod Temperton, and every technical resource available to them, and made Thriller, the best-selling album of all time, over 70 million copies worldwide, certified 34 times platinum by the RIA. He returned to the Grammys in 1984 and won 8 awards in one night, a record that stood alone for 16 years. He made them acknowledge him. He made them impossible to ignore. But Off the Wall should have been that reckoning, and it wasn't. Number 4, When Doves Cry, Prince, 1984. It was the #1 song in America for 5 weeks in the summer of 1984. It was the best-selling single of that entire year. It was the first Prince song to top the Hot 100, and it was built on a production decision so radical that every music producer who heard it said it couldn't work. There is no bass line. Prince deliberately stripped out the bass, leaving just a drum machine, a synthesizer, and his voice, and it became the defining pop soul record of its era. The Grammys nominated the Purple Rain soundtrack for 5 awards. When Doves Cry was curiously absent from every nomination that mattered. Purple Rain won Grammy Awards for Best Rock Performance and Best Original Score for a Motion Picture. The single When Doves Cry, which outsold everything attached to that film and most things attached to anything else in 1984, was not nominated for Record of the Year. It was not nominated for Song of the Year. In that same awards cycle, the Album of the Year Grammy went to Lionel Richie for Can't Slow Down. Prince had written, produced, directed, and starred in a movie, produced the year's best-selling single, and changed the sound of pop music. and left with hardware that acknowledged the soundtrack, not the song. Prince received 38 Grammy nominations across his entire career and won 7. In a career that produced Sign o' the Times, Purple Rain, 1999, Dirty Mind, and Around the World in a Day. 7 wins out of 38 nominations is a number that tells you everything about how the Recording Academy valued his genius. He was nominated more than 5 times as often as he won. When Doves Cry alone deserved a Record of the Year nomination. The fact that it didn't receive one remains one of the most glaring statistical impossibilities in Grammy history. Number 3, I Feel Love. Donna Summer, 1977. Giorgio Moroder recorded this track using entirely synthesized instrumentation. No live musicians, no organic sound, no precedent in the history of recorded music. It was proto-techno before techno had a name. Brian Eno heard it and told David Bowie it represented the future of dance music for the next 40 years. He was conservative in his estimate. Rolling Stone eventually named it the greatest dance song of all time. In 1977, at the exact moment, this record was changing the direction of all popular music. The Grammys did not nominate it for anything. Donna Summer's Grammy history is a study in institutional contradiction. She was the most commercially dominant female artist of the late 1970s. First female artist in history to achieve 3 consecutive #1 platinum double albums, first to simultaneously top the album and singles charts twice in the same year. She received 18 Grammy nominations across her career and won 5, but the specific injustices compound each other. I Feel Love, the song that invented electronic dance music, received no Grammy recognition whatsoever in the year of its release. The full scope of what I Feel Love built is only visible in hindsight. Every club record, every techno track, every electronic pop single, every synthesizer-driven dance floor anthem from 1977 to the present carries its DNA. Beyoncé's 2022 Renaissance album, which won the Grammy for Best Dance Electronic Album, reinterpreted I Feel Love in its architecture. Giorgio Moroder said he was making something he himself didn't fully understand yet. The Grammys in 1977 looked at the most futuristic record in the world and decided it didn't exist. Number 2, Superfly. Curtis Mayfield, 1972. Number 1, What's Going On? Marvin Gaye, 1971. The full legacy Snub, we return to Marvin Gaye at number 1, not to repeat the story, but to measure the full weight of what the Recording Academy refused to acknowledge. 12 Grammy nominations across Marvin Gaye's entire Motown tenure. 0 wins. Not for I Heard It Through the Grapevine. 4 million copies. The biggest selling Motown single ever recorded. Topped the chart for 7 weeks. What's going on? Yeah, what's going on? Not for Let's Get It On. Number 1 for 2 weeks. A cultural touchstone that redefined intimate expression in popular music. Not for What's Going On. 12 times they called his name on the ballot. 0 times they handed him the trophy. So you can see what's going. The specific snub that crowns this entire list is the 1971 Grammy Awards when What's Going On was eligible. The album had launched 3 top 10 singles. Marvin had written, produced, and arranged the entire project himself. An act of creative autonomy that Motown had never permitted a solo artist before. He had used jazz polyrhythms, overdubbed his own vocals in counterpoint with himself, and created a sound that did not yet have a name: progressive soul, psychedelic soul. Whatever you called it, it was the most important thing happening in American music that year. The Grammy voters gave Best Album of the Year to Carole King's Tapestry, a genuinely great album, while What's Going On existed without recognition.
Don't punish me with brutality.
The historical verdict is absolute. What's Going On sits in the Grammy Hall of Fame, inducted in 1998. Rolling Stone ranked it the #1 album of all time in their 2020 updated list. VH1 ranked the title track #1 among the 100 greatest songs of the past 25 years. HER cited it directly as the inspiration for her Grammy-winning I Can't Breathe. The Library of Congress preserved it in the National Recording Registry. Every year, a new generation discovers it and is changed by it. The Grammys of 1972 looked at one of the greatest artistic achievements in the history of recorded sound and gave it nothing. Marvin Gaye's only Grammy wins came in 1983 for Sexual Healing. 2 years before his father shot him dead in his bedroom in Los Angeles on April 9, 1984, the day before his 45th birthday. He died without ever hearing the Recording Academy say his name the way history eventually would. That is the biggest Grammy snub in R&B history. That is the one that will never stop hurting. These were the 13 biggest Grammy snubs in R&B history from 1970 to 1990. And if this list made you feel something, if even one of these stories made you reach for an old record or rethink what you thought you knew about the music industry, then drop the name of the artist who deserved better in the comments below. We read every single one. This is R&B Pulse Track, and as long as there are legends who never got their flowers, we will keep coming back.